Hello, my name is Nick Bowman. I'm a junior at Wesleyan University, and this fall I'm studying abroad in Aberdeen, Scotland. And today I would like to talk about budgeting while studying abroad, which may not be the first thing everyone thinks about when selecting a program or boarding that plane to leave the United States, but it's definitely something I wish I would have considered a little bit more before my study abroad experience. And hopefully it serves as a helpful guide to spending money while abroad. It just gives you a few things to think about and chew over before you leave. So here we go. My first suggestion would be to prioritize how you spend your money. This talk isn't necessarily to say don't spend money on this or don't spend money on that, or not to spend any money at all and meter out every penny you have. No, but rather to be intentional and conscious about how you're spending your money. For example, if you really appreciate going out to eat and dining culture, then go for it. Spend money on that. Enjoy going out to dinner with friends and relatives if they come to visit you. That's all great. If that's not something you necessarily enjoy as much, or you'd rather spend money on other things, that's great too. Me personally, I spent a decent amount of my money this semester on surfing and learning to surf in Aberdeen, which is kind of pictured above. Not necessarily the first thing you think about when coming to Northern Scotland, but there's a great surf community here. This picture is not me, nowhere near that good at the moment, but that's something that I've really enjoyed doing, and I've certainly prioritized with both my time and money. So it's all about where you spend your money in terms of budgeting. I'm not here to tell you what to spend money on or not to, but these are just some things to think about when you're thinking about spending money and traveling and studying abroad more generally. In a similar vein, I think experiences are a great way and a great avenue for which to spend money. And I think experiences and memory making 10, 20, 30 years down the line will be a far greater return on investment, if you will, than picking up a souvenir or some other thing you could theoretically order on Amazon. I think engaging with a local culture and doing things that are truly unique that you couldn't necessarily do in other locations is the best way to spend money and while studying abroad. And that's just me personally. Here, my friend and I are watching an Aberdeen versus Hibernian football match, which you couldn't necessarily appreciate in the United States. Football culture is a truly unique thing in the United Kingdom compared to the US. So this is just one example of spending money on an experience rather than, say, food or some other kind of souvenir. So just some food for thought. Moving towards some more nuts and bolts suggestions and money saving tips, walking, well, first transport more generally, but walking is certainly the best way to save money while studying abroad. One of the biggest differences, I think, between the UK and Scotland and the United States is that walking a walkable distance is far further here in Scotland than it is in the US, and is something that I've really begun to notice when I first got here. I've been walking so much more than I do at Wesleyan, tons and tons of steps, because one, it's a way to save money. It's great exercise. It's good for the environment. There's tons of different benefits. The only thing you need is a comfy pair of walking shoes, which I would advise you get regardless of where you travel, because you'll likely be doing a lot of walking if you want to get out and see the country you're studying in and save a little money. After walking, busing is definitely another great economical approach to travel. And intra-city buses are great when the distance is truly too far to be walkable or it's too inconvenient. Those are great options. And then inner city buses, for instance, this coach down here in the bottom right, are great ways to save money while traveling between cities. It'll definitely take you a little bit longer than the train probably, but it will likely be a third to a half as expensive. So great way to save money if you're willing to sit in a bus for a few extra hours compared to the train. Trains here in Scotland are rather expensive. Many locals here complain about it quite a bit, but with the Railcard app, which costs £30, you save 30% on all tickets as somebody 16 to 25. So it's a great investment if you plan on traveling a lot. I know I've kind of made my money back several times over already. So that's a great alternative. If you do choose to travel by train a lot, I would definitely advise getting that. Taxis and Ubers are generally not your friends. Uber doesn't actually run in all cities in Scotland. So again, just do your research. If you're out late at night, obviously on a weekend and need to get back, taxis are a great option. Here in Scotland and the UK, however, it's not like the US. And so you actually have to call and order a taxi rather than simply flagging one down on the street. So do your research, talk to locals, see what they think in terms of being economical. At universities, there are also bike co-ops, which are a great way to either rent or borrow a bike for free for most of the semester, which is a great way to get around for not a lot of money as well. And one final transport tip, if you're planning on staying overnight in a location, I would definitely encourage you to look at hostels. They are typically a fraction of the cost of an Airbnb or a hotel. And while they may get a bad rap, and a lot of people in the US are kind of unsure about them, if you do your research, they're totally safe and they provide great experiences, memory making, and the people who work and stay there often have wonderful suggestions in terms of dining options and just general cultural experiences to go and see and visit while you're in whatever location you're staying at. So Hostelworld's a great option. Look at reviews, do your research. Obviously, if you do feel uncomfortable with this suggestion, perhaps looking at Airbnbs and pooling together as a group, that's another great way to save money. That's what I did with several friends when I went to Inverness this semester. So just tons of different ways to get around and various options in terms of saving money and budgeting. Finally, food. You're going to need to feed yourself, whether that be eating out or shopping or cooking. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that now. So in Scotland, there's a range of grocery store prices, just like in the United States, ranging from your kind of Walmart price point all the way to your Whole Foods. In Scotland and the UK, Sainsbury's is definitely towards the whole food end of the spectrum, and Lidl, where I do most of my shopping, probably closer to the Walmart level. But I'm not here to say you should go to Sainsbury's or Lidl, or you should spend lots of money on groceries or not. But this kind of, again, goes back to the idea of prioritizing what you spend your money on while studying abroad. If good quality ingredients are something you truly value, then go for it. Go to Sainsbury's, shop at Sainsbury's, or whatever kind of equivalent grocery store there is in your location. But if you're a more budget-minded traveler and you are okay with dealing with lesser quality ingredients that are quite cheaper, then Lidl is a great option, or a similarly priced grocery store is a great option. Cooking in general is something you'll likely need to do. My program didn't offer a dining option, so you're going to need to cook and you're going to need to shop. So figuring out how and where to do that is definitely something you're going to need to work out for yourself. But talking to locals and doing some research online is a great way to save money and figuring out where to shop as well. And so also would recommend getting a cookbook or two, or just kind of winging it and figuring out what tastes good together, tasting lots of different things while you're cooking. So enjoy the aspect of cooking. I personally have really enjoyed doing that this semester. So just give it a shot. It's not rocket science, just takes a little experimentation. But yeah, it'll be great. And finally, just eating out again. You may want to set a quota for yourself once, twice a week, only while you're traveling. Again, all up to you, but just certainly something to think about, because it's quite easy when you're studying a lot and doing work or traveling, it's quite easy to say, oh, I don't want to cook tonight, I'll just go out. But if you do that often, then it obviously becomes quite expensive. So just kind of thinking in your head and conceptualizing during the week how often you want to do that is a helpful guide to saving money and just kind of living around while you're studying abroad. I personally like to just eat out while I'm traveling. I like to try different things at the different locations I go to. So that's just generally my personal approach to things. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of my talk. I hope it was informative and helpful, and kind of my learned experiences were useful for you, regardless of where you study abroad. So budgeting is something that everybody can do. It's not super hard. It's quite easy, actually, if you just put a little time and thought into it. But I hope this provided some general guidelines and interesting topics of conversation, and certainly things to think about and mull over before you get on that flight or during your semester abroad. So I hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you.